So we're like you, Lance. Like we believe sales are where the truth is. You got to make sales. So that's a unique trait. You don't see that in most hospitality companies. Most hospitality companies are like, well, we put the hotel on the internet, and if people call, great. Well, we're like, okay, what else did you do? What else did you do? When they show up, are you going to sell them something extra? Or are you going to make sure their day is great?
Welcome to the Lion's Den, hosted by Lance Bachman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Lion's Den. I have Josh McCallen. He actually is from Norristown, self-made, has his own private equity firm, owns Renault Winery, which is 250 acres. Everybody's seeing it all over for the Christmas display right now. Pretty cool. And what most people don't know also, Josh, that you own, besides a private equity firm and Renault, is that you actually have your own hospitality management company, VIVÂMEE. I always say it wrong. A lot of success, a lot of hard work. You didn't grow up with a silver spoon. You weren't born on third base. Self-made. And I love a self-made man. Josh, welcome to the den.
Oh,
Why don't you introduce yourself real fast, my friend?
love the name of the show, Lion's Den. Such a great, vibe. You've always had that vibe, by the way. Lance, getting to know you the last year, you bring the heat, man. You bring the heat. You always got the energy. I love it.
So, Josh, why don't you tell everybody who you are, the viewers,
Sure.
and what you do? And I know you have three different aspects of your company, but really talk about who you are and what you guys do.
So the quickest way, look, I always think we all learn better in stories, and we hear stuff better in stories, but we don't want to overdo it. My story is as of today, we own Accountable Equity, which is this great investor community, 322 active investors from all over the country, even some from Europe. And then we have VIVÂMEE Hospitality, where we take the assets we buy and we kick butt, operate them at a high level. We deliver a unique type of hospitality. We'll talk about that later. I'll define what we mean by all that. And then, of course, people know me as the dad of 10. I got 10 natural kids, married almost 25 years, and I'm not from a big family. So my wife is the hero here, but that's something that most people are a little surprised by, double digits.
And you're also the CEO of Renault Winery, which was kind of a surprise when we got to know each other, that I was stepping down as CEO, and I told you why, because I own other businesses. But you picked this one to be the CEO. Can you ask why? Because
Sure.
we had very different optics on this one.
Yeah, I think you're talking about why do we have companies that have a lot of staff, and why am I the CEO? Is that kind of your question? Like,
Yeah,
instead
because
of
I
just
stepped
backing away?
down because I have companies that have a lot of staff at multiple ones. And I was like, it isn't fair for me to be CEO of one when I probably have someone that's going to pay more attention to me at this point.
Oh, that philosophy. You know what? I think, truthfully, Renault is our flagship asset. That is the beginning of a whole new program of property acquisition. So I probably am listed as the CEO, but really we have a whole group of managers at VIVÂMEE. So that's more of just probably just it helps people understand that there's somebody behind Renault. We don't want people to think it's a faceless company. VIVÂMEE is a heartfelt group of talented people, and I get to lead VIVÂMEE, and VIVÂMEE runs Renault. So in a way, de facto, all ships lead to me, but there is a whole executive staff there.
Yeah, and that's really, I think a lot of people don't realize. That's why I asked that question. You might have the title CEO, but you're not specifically in that one business,
Yes,
right? So
I'm not.
Where I thought was fascinating is you grew up on welfare. I'm not trying to put your business out there. Mom was handicapped, right? You didn't, you didn't have the two lawyer parents. You didn't have the two executive parents. I think Norristown's a bad school, because I think Norristown's a good school, right? Norristown, Counts Rock, Neshaminy, Pennsbury, I think they're all great schools, right? It's a matter of where do you fit inside that system, right?
Sure.
And I'm not being rude here. You fitted on the bottom side of that system. Can you talk about the rise of it, of Josh?
My backstory is it probably resonates with a lot of business owners these days that they have to build it themselves. You're right. We did not grow up with anything. I enjoy work. So how sometimes when you have hardships, sometimes you have a little bit of a gift from God that you see it as a positive, that just another obstacle to overcome. But no, I grew up with one brother. My mom had a handicapped situation. She was 27 years old. She had a stroke. My dad had already taken off. And so, I kind of grew up working, man. I was one of those paper boys in the 80s. Yeah, I always say nobody knows what a paperboy is anymore because it could never be the way it was. You have to knock on the door to get a paycheck because nobody pays
Correct.
you. It's like it's what is it? It's pure entrepreneurialism, right? Someone drops off the wholesale product, you then go deliver it, and then you go collect the money, and then you pay for the wholesale product. I love
It really
man.
is. People don't understand. That's how you did. We were paper boys. I was a paper boy. You go literally buy the product. You literally go get it, drop it off, and you go get your money, and you
You have to
turn
go
in
get
their
your money.
percentage. The rest is yours. The rest is yours, and they tip you on top of it. You're right. I never even looked at that as an entrepreneurial business, but you're
It's
right.
legit, bro. Because think about it. Everybody today would think you just get a paycheck, but back then in the day, 6 a.m, 7 a.m. with Philadelphia Inquirer. So, fast forward, I've had some incredible opportunities. I actually studied to be, a teacher. I was a teacher originally, and then went back to get a business degree. There was this cool interlude for 4 years where we lived in Austria, Europe, which there's a really cool benefit of living in Austria, Europe, which is that part of Europe where Sound of Music was, the movie Sound of Music. So it's like out of a movie, dude. It was so beautiful. My wife and I had a kid there, 2 kids there. It was our first.
So they have
3.
dual citizen. They have dual
They
citizen.
don't.
They
Believe
don't?
it or not, this country's generous. USA is generous. They'll give you citizenship if you're born here. That is not the case in most countries. Can you believe that, Lance?
Right,
So
I
they're
know that.
born there. They're born there, and the first question they say is, "What citizenship do your mom and dad have?" And because we're American, they give the kids American citizenship at the U.S. consulate.
I
So
did not
yeah,
know
weird, right?
that. Yeah.
So anyway, so then fast forward, I get back to America. I had this cool break where I wanted to get in land development, but had no real angle. So I just learned how to be a lender first, and met developers. Had this wonderful break. Got into land development with a family. You know what family offices are? People that have significant wealth. Well, I got to join one of those out of the main line and help them build buildings as as project manager, and then eventually earned my way up to a real senior staff level. And eventually we then helped them build out a hospitality business, right? And so from that hospitality business in New Jersey, actually, we helped build out the Icona businesses, the Avalon Icona, the Diamond Beach Icona primarily. And from that, I fell in love with hospitality, though. So really my whole story is how powerful hospitality can be if you do it right, if you do it for the good of the other person. And when you focus on this business, hospitality, which is treating people with kindness and love, and do it well, literally the world's your oyster, man. I mean, this skill set that we've been able to develop over the last few years, which is intense guest experience, we try our best, and intense sales focus. So we're like you, Lance. Like, we believe sales are where the truth is. You got to make sales. So that's a unique trait. You don't see that in most hospitality companies. Most hospitality companies are like, well, we put the hotel on the internet, and if people call, great. Well, we're like, okay, what else did you do? What else did you do? When they show up, are you going to sell them something extra? Or are you going to make sure their day is great? So we have a sales focus, but we also have this ministry focus. And that's what the word VIVÂMEE means. VIVÂMEE is, after 8 years of running some of the best hotels in the country, actually ranked nationally. I had a chance to have a liquidity event, some equity, and then I built the companies we have now, VIVÂMEE Hospitality and Accountable Equity, and told the story on podcasts like this. I've probably been on probably hundreds of podcasts. We have a podcast. You just got an invite today to be on Capital Hacking, buddy. I got to get you on Capital Hacking. 200 shows, famous people, Robert Kiyosaki, great Hal Elrod, if you know these guys. Really wonderful people. Great show, 200 episodes, top 1% in the world. Anyway, that is how I get the word out. So I tell the world, hospitality done right is a gift to the guest, meaning you treat them with dignity and respect. You try to show them some love, and then you worry about the fact that you're building a great business. I always say, don't worry about the business will take care of itself if you remember the purpose of being in the business. And hospitality is a very personal thing to me.
If you like this content and you're trying to grow your business, follow me at Lance Bachman and Lance Bachman Digital on Facebook. LFG, time to grow. It's funny. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they said to me, well, I said, like, what? There just happened to be a restaurant, right? And they were saying, we need more people, right? And they said, we're not doing the numbers that we want, right? I said, well, who are you? What's your identity? I don't know. We have a clean place. I mean, anyone can have a clean place, right? I'm not being rude, right? It's not that hard that's the expectation, right? If that's what we're going with, right? The food's good. The burgers are good. Well, that's the expectation. Like, Well, we're nice. Well, that's okay. So like you got those three things, but I should get that at McDonald's. I should get that at, do you know what I mean? And I use chicken and pizza as an example. I said, well, you just gave me chicken and pizza because you're from here. You know that. You're walking to chicken and pizza. 99% of the time it's going to be clean. Food's consistent. And normally the people are nice. So why would I come to your place? You got to give me a reason, right? And that's what we're going to talk about, because you are very high energy when it comes to hospitality. You believe in being nice, making sure everyone feels they're having an experience. And that's how you bought Renault Winery. And now you built this big Christmas show that's all about an experience, which we're going to talk about, right? But am I wrong thinking to that person I said that to yesterday, was that rude or was that something you might say, Josh? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, hospitality for me, listen, those things that if people can deliver on cleanliness, great food, and be nice, actually, they're probably in the first 10% of the best restaurants in the country. Because I think more often than not, you don't even get that these days. But for us, it actually began with something. Look, I don't know how deep you want to go on this, but about 8 years ago, we were getting our teeth kicked in running those businesses for that family office. We thought we were building pretty buildings, and we thought pretty buildings are the key to success in hospitality. And then the rubber hit the road. And guess we're using the F word all the time at us because we couldn't keep up with the service standards. And there was this epiphany that me and the teammates had where we need to train and we need to have a purpose why we're doing this. And I remember standing on the restaurant floor because, of course, I was the guy who created most of the some of the concepts. I wasn't going to let this thing fail. And I was standing on the floor and I would watch people have a great experience. They'd give me a hug, man. They would be like, you should come to New York and be our friend, basically. Or we'd do a bad job that night and they would be cussing me out, telling me I ruined their grandmom's birthday party. And I'm like, damn, hospitality is radical. Like one night in the same business, same room, we nail it. We have great guest experience. The next night, we don't have a cook show up. Everything's taking an extra 35 minutes. And now everybody hates me, wants to kill me. I'm like, wait a second. Hospitality is not normal. I came up with this theory. I'm like, dude, this feels more spiritual than anything else. And so then I started Googling what the word hospitality meant. I'm like, man, this is just crazy how passionate people get about good hospitality and bad hospitality. So I ended up finding out the word hospitality was a spiritual word, man. I used to think of it as just a normal word, but it's the same word hundreds of years ago as hospital, hospitality, and hospice. And I always say, if you think about hospice, dude, that's when people pass away.
No doubt.
And it's all about making sure they feel loved on the way out the door. So I said, what if we took the original meaning of hospitality and deliver it up front in restaurants and hospitality experience? And then what if we treat our guests that way, our staff that way as well? So that's where VIVÂMEE comes from. That's the reviving the soul. Now, because I'm a real estate investor and we have hundreds of real estate investors that invested in me and us, we have to do value add. So we say the first soul we're going to revive is the building. The second soul we're going to revive is our staff and team. And the third soul is going to be the beneficiary, and that's the guest. And we really focus on training. Every week, 100% of the people go to a VIVÂMEE training, and we teach 3 core virtues, dude. And none of us are perfect creatures, man. I'm totally flawed. I have 10 kids. I use foul language. I'm a loudmouth. I mean, I'm an Irish guy. It's tough, man. It's tough raising 10 kids. So I'm not a great guy all the time. I try. But we still want to have 3 virtues. If we're going to try to do a company, why not have 3 clear identities to our virtues? 1, you can't work with us unless you like this stuff. We say joy of service. You got to have joy. If you don't like the work we're about to do not take this job. 2nd, you got to seek humility as a strength. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but like humility is when you seek humility, you can see the dignity of other people. You want to help other people. You're willing to chip in and be a partner and a teammate. And that's the only kind of people you and I want to work with. I don't want to work with somebody who says that's not my job. So we got to have people that seek humility. And the third one is, will you join us and make hospitality your ministry? And what we mean by the word ministry is not religion or anything like that. We mean spiritual, though. We say, will you do simple things like be a great chef, be a great cook, be a great waiter, bartender, so that the guest feels the love? So do the work, but your intention is not just to deliver the glass of wine. Your intention is to make that person feel cherished and loved. And when you fix your head, you can deliver. Like where your energy goes, where your focus goes, your energy flows, So by training our team and focusing our team on the good of the other, we literally have this esprit de corps on property. You're going to love it when we finally get you to the property, buddy. I got to get you down there.
So let's talk about this. I think the one thing I think entrepreneurial, we're very similar. We own multiple businesses. We try and treat our employees best. We believe in customer first, all those type of things. The private equity firm, I want to talk to you about that. Is that okay? Because I got
Oh, I love it.
questions. I love,
Anything you want to know.
I love the fact that you opened your own, right? I mean,
Yep.
I think of you, probably one of the bigger ones here in the Philadelphia, Jersey area, right? I think of Grant Cardone on a whole
Millions
scale,
of millions
right?
of dollars. Yep.
Yeah. So like, how does like, and not that I ever want to be in that business because it's just not that's not me, right? Like when I'm buying a property, I'm buying small properties. I'm not buying what you're buying. You're buying Renault wineries and those other things. How do you even start? Like,
Okay.
I guess do you just have a lunch and say, listen, I got a cool idea and jump
No.
in? I mean, I'm curious. Did you know this was going to
Thank
happen?
you so much for asking this question the way you just did, because you are thinking the way I was thinking 4 years ago. And before 4 years ago, I had the misunderstanding that these highly lucrative resort real estate pieces could only be bought by the richest people in the world or Wall Street guys, right? I did not know what we have built was even possible. So what we built, we call it accountable equity. And we went and we hired lawyers, CPAs, and I went and got training. And I went to this group called Real Estate Guys Radio. It sounds cliche, but they've been doing this for like 15, 20 years. They've trained hundreds of guys like me and ladies. And they teach you the basics of literally what the legal ramifications, the tax ramifications, and the way to build a, kind of a small private equity group. Okay. And I loved it. We always said we wanted to have here's how you do it, just in case you really do want to learn. And people feel free to reach out to me or listen to my podcast, Capital Hacking. We talk about this stuff. You literally need a lawyer to create an offering memorandum and a private placement. Why? Because I'm on your show right now, this famous show, talking about a private equity group. You're not allowed to do that unless you've filed, properly documented your offerings, your funds, because we have private funds. Basically, we have like a whole group of funds similar to like a Vanguard, but we do it with purposes to buy resorts, or we have a debt fund coming out next year.
No, I get all
REIT.
that, but what's your first pitch? Like, that's what I'm like Josh is sitting there. You're like, I don't know what your first property was, but you had to have a property.
Renault was a property. Now, normally you find a deal and then you go out and present it like you're asking me. And I thought to myself, I'm going to go to people that already have a network. So kind of like what we're doing right now. This show has.
I'm curious.
I used podcasts, and I thought to myself, listen, I'm going to be authentic and real and get on these shows, and I'm going to answer the questions of why we're doing it, how we're doing it, how much money you can make, and I'm just going to answer people direct. And we're not going to be flashy about it, but we're going to show that the number one thing people want to know about me: are you going to die on that hill to get me my money back with friends? And I said, not only am I going to die on that hill to get you your money back with friends, I'll put it right in our name. Hold me accountable equity. So we take your money, you entrust it to us, and we make sure that that we're going to be accountable. Now, on top of that, now that we have so many investors, like 1,500 people read our emails, 320, actually as of today, 330 people have written us mega checks. Our typical check is, well, mega, it all depends, $50,000 to $300,000 on average, what people invest with us at a time. And what I didn't know.
That's not a small amount of money.
It's big money. It's big money. Everybody does have to fall into the government's rule called SEC accredited investor. So you do need to have $1 million of assets somewhere. It could be a beach house. It could be a business you own, or your IRA. Your IRA counts. And then you're legally allowed to invest in private deals like mine. And so all I need to do, I mean, the skinny on it, after you hire the lawyer, after you get the CPA advisory, after you do all the legal documentation, then you need to present yourself. And so for me, it was podcasting. I did a bunch of webinars. So say you had an audience on your podcast, you might invite me to do a webinar. And why? Because you're curious. You might even be an investor, let's say. And so you're like, well, I'll do a webinar. I want to hear more about it. Then you'll ask me all these tough questions. And then at the end of the webinar, multiple times, I'll get investors right then and there.
So it's funny you say that. So I'll be very transparent. I show anyone the emails, Grant Cardone and me were talking back and forth. And I didn't realize like what a down to earth, just straight up like they're just good. Like they're kind of like us. Just
we are. Yeah. They're like way ahead of me, but this is how they do it too.
No doubt. And it's just that simple. And but his thing is, you're probably going to get 9 to 10%, maybe 12% from a financial advisor that knows what they're doing, but you might go down. He's like, the things we're buying, they could double, triple, quadruple, and your returns are going to be a lot more over time. And
Right.
not that you guys sell them that fast, but we talk about cash flow and how much you get back versus expenses. And the model you guys have, there's no way someone like me can know your model and do. You have to go to people that know what to do. And that's why I always say, let great people do what they do. And seriously, like when someone tells
You're
me,
absolutely right.
I could bring digital marketing in-house, I just start laughing. I'm like, okay, sure you can. Go have fun with that. It's that's experts, but I'm being serious. Like, it's amazing to me the difference of someone like you and him and a few other people I know that actually know that business versus someone like me I would lose my pants. I'd go under.
No, so yeah, we take it pretty seriously. Like I have 240 employees, but some are in the operations in the resorts. Other people are CFOs, senior executives, and we take it freaking seriously. And you are right. I always say, here's the one thing that maybe that doesn't come across through the airwaves for all of us listeners. When you buy from a Wall Street mutual fund, you're buying that piece of paper somehow backed up by a bunch of businesses like Amazon and things like that. And you get taxed when you sell it. Boom, that's life, right? It might go up, it might go down. You make zero cash flow for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years. Then you sell it for a little bit of money and you call that profit. Whereas what we sell, dude, this is like the way the rich invest, right? So this is the Rockefeller strategy of investing. We're buying things that are not doing well. So for example, I'll give you real numbers. You want real numbers, Lance?
Yeah, I'd like to hear about Renault because
I'll talk about Renault. Yeah,
my buddy Joe, he loves it. I know friends that have been there. I wish I could have been there by now. Like the deal fascinates me.
Oh, good. I'll tell you the exact. You want to hear the skinny on it? And it's actually
I would
open for
love to hear
investors
it
right now. All right, so we bought that baby after 100 other developers said no thank you, and they said no thank you because it had been bank owned for a few years. It's 157 years old, never been closed. Even when the bank owned it, they didn't close it. So I used to say, that's a cockroach, bro. I'm going to bet on that cockroach. It made it through Prohibition. It made it through everything, right? The Great Depression. I'm like, okay, there's some legacy there, but it was physically destroyed. So I bought it for less than the value of the dirt. We bought a 55-room hotel, a 200-acre golf course, and the second oldest winery in American history that has the legal right to sell champagne. It's one of the few places out in the world you can sell champagne except for in France. Like champagne is not allowed to be said in America. Anyway, so we got that for $5 million.
Wow.
So, yeah, nothing. We bought it for $5 million. It was doing $2 million a year. So it was doing something, but it was losing money. We then implemented a strategy to sell weddings. You might say, why weddings, Josh? I thought it was a winery. Well, because we believe in a multi-revenue strategy. We are not a one-trick pony. So if you overlay weddings, this is freaking revolutionary stuff. So if you're listening and you want to try to do this on your own, it will work as long as you have guts and some serious talent. So we overlaid weddings because the property was getting phone calls for weddings, even though it was a piece of crap. It was beat up. So I did the research. I said, wait a second, if I spend money on ads, I'll get even more phone calls. They were getting 700 phone calls for weddings with no ads. So then we said, well, we're going to do a renovation plan, a physical rehab. We're going to make it absolutely gorgeous. We're going to take all that history of 257 years and celebrate it. Like we have buildings that were built in this old fashioned kind of steel riveted model. And we're going to open up the ceilings and let the bride see it. We're going to go back to the wood ceiling and we're going to make it Instagram perfect. We're going to do this killer renovation. That's going to cost millions of dollars, 5 to 10 million, depending on what we ended up doing in the scope. Then we're going to raise the money and get a debt. So I went out, found a hard money lender that would back some of that. And then I went out and raised, at this point, we've raised 7.8 million there. Okay. Equity. Now, all in, our small group of investors have rallied to bring in over 20 million in the last 2 years in various projects. And we bought projects down on the Eastern Shore now, and outside of Annapolis, 200 acres on the water, 1.7 miles of waterfront, hotel, wedding venue. So we're out buying. We went and looked to buy a bunch of things. But back to Renault, bought it for 5 million. It was doing 2.2 before the recession, 2019, pretty much limping along. But while we were limping along, we sold, I think, $6 million worth of weddings on contract. We took 25% of the cash that day, so we had plenty of cash. Then we had guaranteed contract business into the future. Guess what happened when we opened up for the weddings? COVID started 3 weeks later. So we open up, we finished building $10 million of renovations in March 2020. So now our balls are up against the wall, our back's up against the wall, and we say, we get locked down. And we're in New Jersey. However, We had 300 weddings on the books to happen in 2020. So we're phone calling every bride saying, we'll give you any date you want that's available. Of course, there's a no refund policy, and that's just not even an opportunity. So 0 refunds. We moved over 300 weddings, kept accommodating the president and all the different lockdown rules. We lost no money. So now you think, oh, well, now you're in a world of hurt. You have no revenue. So 2 months later, they let the lockdown slow down. We open up golf. Golf went from 100 club members to 300 club members. It went from doing its worst year ever in 2019 to doing the best it's ever done by 50%. So we crushed it. So now all of a sudden golf is making money. The weddings, we're continued to sell. We became the #1 volume wedding business in America this year. It's only our first full year of operation. We sold over $25 million worth of weddings at that one property since the day we bought it. Okay. So we're focused on business. Simultaneously, we couldn't run the weddings until the COVID let us, right? So we couldn't really run weddings last year. So how did we get the revenue to double in 2020? We went from 2.2 in 19 to 4.6 in 2020. We did that by turning to the outdoors. Everybody did. Oh, you put a restaurant outside. Well, we took over 5 acres around our water features, our ponds, and we built an outdoor restaurant. You're thinking, that's great, Josh. Congratulations. Well, guess what? It gets freezing cold out here. So by the time October came, all of a sudden there's not much interest in outdoor dining. And we were cranking at like a couple $100,000 a week in outdoor dining. We were cranking. And we were selling millions of dollars of weddings. I think we sold $7-8 million of weddings during those months. Weddings kept selling like crazy. But then the winter came. And this is the story of all stories. Remember briefly, I told you we lived in Europe for 4 years. In Europe, there's this crazy thing that happens, Lance, anywhere from Northern Italy to France to Germany, Austria. They do outdoor parties all winter, or at least in February, December, and January for winter markets and stuff like that. And people freaking stand in the cold around a fire pit, drinking hot spiced wine and talking and eating pretzels for hours. And it left such an impression on Melanie and I that we're like, this is the year. We're doing it right now. And we rallied our crew, and we built definitely one of the Eastern Seaboard's biggest festival grounds, like 5 acres. We bought an ice rink, legit NHL ice rink in with glycol, and legit, we have a Zamboni for God's sakes. And we just, I forget, you're a wrestling family, not ice skating, not hockey. Anyway, it went gangbusters. We were on all the morning shows last year. We were doing, during the COVID, we were following all the government draconian rules, not letting anybody inside except for the bathroom. And we were still bringing in, I don't know, I think our peak day was 1,500 guests in a day. So we were quote unquote following every rule because technically they were all social distance, and we just killed it. The business ended up doing $2 million of revenue in the winter. And remember, we're in the Northeast. So typically companies like ours slow down in the winter.
Big time.
It became our biggest season ever. This month, we're in December right now, and you and I are recording. It's Vintner 2.0. We call it Vintner, meaning winemaker wonderland. And it's fun for the whole family, baby. There's boozy hot chocolates and non-boozy hot chocolates. There's ice skating. There's fire pits. There's igloos. We call them champagne bubbles. There's cabanas. I built lodges, these cute little lodges. You won't even freaking believe it. They got fireplaces and couches and leather sofas. And we have live entertainment like 4 or 5 days a week. Big bands. The biggest bands in the region come. And I think we'll hit, I don't know, 2,000 people in a day this year. And now our winters make more money than our summers ever did, ever in the history of this property. And each weekend, we tend to have a higher gross revenue day than the previous weekend ever in history. So I always say we've ended up building a juggernaut. This year, we're going to end the year. Remember, COVID year, we doubled in revenue from 2.4 to almost 5. This year, we'll hit 16.5, and it's only the first week of December. We've already crossed it. So we are growing. We're growing at an exponential rate annually. And so the investors, now you say, well, what the hell do they own? They own it. Now, that's what's different about Wall Street and what we do. This is the way the rich invest, everybody. This is why what we're doing right now is on a surge, why I get a few investors every week that call me. Today, I got 3 people who wired us money. We're currently open for phase 2 at Renault, and we're currently selling something that would blow your mind. It's called an efficient income fund. You get instant money, but you also get tax savings. We're doing the stuff that the family offices do. So I ended up joining the family office club. That guy who owns it biggest group in the world of family offices. He's my now partner. He joined me. He launched the fund with him and me, some of my funds. So what we've done is we've wrangled the power of the ultra rich and we've given it to us performers. So I always say the capital question, and this is why my podcast is called Capital Hacking, is technically the biggest power of capital is human capital, not cash. So first things first, develop the human capital and the team around you, and the cash capital is the byproduct. It will always follow the best team, and it will always follow the best returns or the best strategy. And as long as you execute, you will have plenty of investors. And that's been the story with us. We bought other properties. We've been on a tear. We're about to buy in Dallas. We're going to buy in Florida. We're going to have 4 regions, and we're growing at a crazy pace.
So Josh, let's talk about this because it's a digital marketing show, right? And I don't want to hold you up too much longer. I appreciate your time.
Anything you want, man. I'm on yours.
We do your digital marketing.
Yes, you
How
do.
is
Very
digital
well.
marketing how has it impacted you? Because you were the company before us. You had some things going on. Then you came to us, and I think it's been about a year now. I think you were dealing with Bernie for the most part, right?
Oh, Bernie's a great guy. Your guy, Bernie.
Oh my God, you're the only one that likes this dude. No one likes this
No, I love
guy.
this guy.
At least you like Bernie. Oh man, you are.
Plus, he's got a great name, by the way.
I know. Can talk to us about how's digital marketing impact your business?
We had a call today with your team, and we said, this is a great example. It's an actual live story. It's a real dive. We always say it's a case study. We're on the phone with Colin, and we're going over our PPC campaign for everything we do. And we're talking about the rooms. We're talking about this. That meeting unlocked tons of value. And here's how it worked. We're over here saying we should push the rooms. Well, guess what? We're sold out for the next 2 years, Lance. So the rooms are very hard to sell. We only have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays available. So they're hard to sell. So we're talking about that. I'm like, oh man, if we spend millions of dollars, we're still only going to get a little bit of money here. So that's not exciting me. Let's ratchet that back. Then we got to the ice skating. We're like, we're only selling about 800 to 1,000 tickets a week and day, and our capacity is 4,000. I'm like, shh, Colin, hold on. Do you hear that? How much money do you want? Take as much as you can justify and put it all on red. I said, put all the money you can strategically spend on ticket sales. And then I'm talking to my staff. They're like, well, we don't make a high margin on the ice. We just make an average margin on that. I'm like, don't worry about that.
Come on. Yeah. Come on. Just get them there.
Get them there. And boy, it changed our entire strategy today. So your team was awesome at that. And that's the thing. I mean, look, we're getting guests from our email campaigns, but we're not getting the person who hasn't heard of us yet. And so you guys have transformed our situation where we can now make sure that the entire region knows who we are, where we are, and how great it is to get here.
Good. I'm glad. On the final roar, and this is where I'm going to say to you, because you're successful. You figured out how the rich make money. You're taking it down to, I hate to say it, to people like me that just own some businesses and, unless it's you or Grant Cardone, your partner, family, isn't calling Lance Bachman. He's not. He has way bigger people call than me, right? So you opened yourself up for almost like the everyday entrepreneur that doesn't even understand this. What would you say to somebody like me? Or I'm going to tell you, there's thousands of Lance Bachman.
Thousands. Well, no, Lance, you're special. I've known who you are for years, buddy. So you're kind of special. We all can't be Lance Bachman, but your point is this, right, brother? What we've done is we've taken the Rockefeller strategies that literally you had to be born this way, and we're giving it to everybody who knows how who has built something for themselves. So a lot of our investors are real estate agents because they make a lot of money. A lot of them are salespeople. A lot of them are small business owners. A lot of people like you that just, you have tons of cash flow different ways. And now you need a K1, which is cool. Once you become, oh, dude, I could teach you so much right now. I get so excited because I didn't realize this world was here. Growing up poor, it was behind a veil. You and I didn't see it.
You still learn every day. You learn. It's amazing when you grow up poor, how many times you get burnt just trying to build.
Yeah. What we are doing right now does take it takes a community, because you're not going to want to jump into private deals without a friend showing it to you. Right. So in order to soften the blow and not, our company's not called Vanguard. Everybody's heard of them. Our company does better than Vanguard and provides tax savings as well as wealth building, but you got to get to know us. So I'm on these shows. They find out that one of their friends has invested in us. They've been to Renault. Now they come to one of our, we call them learning grows. We do them 4 times a year. They come and they get to know our community. They find out that they may even know one of our other investors. We have hundreds of them, right? And they're like, oh, that's how this works. And this epiphany happens to almost everybody that invests. And so you are right. The best way to do it is to find a community or a friend that's done it. So you got to have some trust, right? You don't want to just invest in anybody you heard on a podcast. So that's why we always say, take it easy. Bill, Sam, Jenny, we'll get probably right after this podcast, 15, 20 people will probably ask, can we join you? And we'll always say, you're welcome to invest, but first slow down. There's a webinar we did. You can take a phone call with one of us professionals. You can come see the property, Lance. Like I keep begging you to get your kids down. We got some ice skating to do. You got to kick the tires. See if we do a good job.
I don't even think my kids know how to ice skate. I don't think my kids even ever been on ice skating. That's terrible.
I don't know how to ice skate either. By the way, I'm not an ice skater. I just think it's beautiful. Like when people are out on ice skates in the dark and the glow of the bistro lights, it's like out of a movie, bro. It's like out of a movie down there.
I seen the pictures. I seen the video. I mean, this is the thing. First of all, thank you for being on the Den. Number 2, congratulations on all your success, because I know how hard it is to get to your level. Like, I just know all the work, the hours, the passion. I think people think when they watch a podcast like this, it's, oh, Josh is just started this company 4 or 5 years. They don't look at the 20 years you put in working for someone. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, learning a trade, learning a skill set. So I know how hard it is. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas. And honestly, thank you for being on the Den. Congratulations on all your success, man.
Thank you, buddy.